Okay, so I'm going to look at now at doing some new lights using a light that I'm going to make for you from scratch. Oh, sorry, no, I'm not going to make it from scratch. I'm going to modify this studio light, which is very close to making a light from scratch, but you do at least have a little bit of the setup done for you. Okay, so with this perspective view, I'm just going to select one of those studio lights and then go to Edit Family. Okay, and so now I'm going to go into the floor plan view, where you can see this circle, which is actually made up of two curves, and I'll delete that in a moment, but just so that I know where things are, before I do that I'm going to make an extrusion, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle, and I'm going to maybe do a little bit more than you need to, because if you're making this for your own purposes, you might not need to put in parameters. You can just draw the size you need, and you don't need to make it adjustable. But I'm going to make it so it is adjustable, because it's not really a lot of extra work, and it gives me then a lot more potential to use this light in different situations. So I'm going to draw in an aligned dimension from one side of the rectangle to the other side, and then place it above, and then again from the same side but this time to the center line, and then over to the right, and then again place it. So now I'm going to select that dimension at the top, go to the label option and go to add parameter. I'm going to call this width, and then select the other dimension that measures to the center line and set that to equals, so that it's centered. So I'll keep the rectangle centered over this plane. And now I'll go and draw a dimension going the other way. So same approach from one side to the other, place it to the side, and then from one side to the top, to the middle, and then to the bottom. So now again I can select this one, and I'm going to simply use the same parameter, because I want this to be a square light. And again select that dimension and set it to equals. So now finish that and it'll disappear, because I'm in a floor plan, that light is up high, and if I go to the elevation views, you can see there the extrusion I've just made. Now I'm not going to worry about the height too much just yet. I'm going to maybe just tidy up a bit first. I'll go back to the floor plan and delete now that circle there, or the two curves, and while I'm there I might make the view so I can see the rectangle or the square. And so with families, you just got to remember that the view properties won't come up always by default, so you need to go to the properties panel and then here choose the view from the list there. And you can do this in a project as well. If you've got an object selected, you can always choose the view from that list there to get your view properties. So now I'll go down to view range, edit, and this time I'm going to bring the cut plane right up high. So I'll make it 2400. And I'm going to make the top higher, so I'll make that 2800. And OK. Now I can see my rectangle. Okay, because we're cutting through up at this height, and then the top is above that. So here I've got this circle there as well, so I'll delete that, don't need that anymore. And I'm going to go to wireframe, because there's probably going to be another one that's behind the box, so I'll delete that too. But be very careful there not to delete the light source. So the yellow sphere there is the light source. So I'm going to select that now, and then go to light source definition. And so here you've got the options for the shape that the light's emitted from. So you've got, you know, all the basic light types there. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Did you make a translucent sphere that actually
yeah, you can. Yeah, oh, of course. Yeah, that's right. So that would just be this one, or the circle, but probably this one, and then just emit from this, and then you'd model the sphere and set it to have a self-illuminating material. That'd be the easiest one, rather than trying to get the light itself to show. So here I'm going to set this one to rectangle, and then I'm going to choose the second option there for the distribution. Click OK. Now, it is rectangular, even though it might not look like it there. If we go to a 3D view, it's going to orbit so you can see it. So when it's highlighted, you can see there, this is the shape it's emitted from, and then the distribution is coming out from each of those sides. But the size doesn't match the object I've made. So now I'm going to go to family types. Right, and so there you'll see the property I've added is width, and I've made that 760 at the moment, but that can easily be set to anything. So I can make that 400, press apply, and you can see my box changes size. So that's working, 500, and again that changes. So I want this light source to follow that as well. So I'm going to set emit from rectangle. The first one is length, second one's width, but I'm going to set them both to follow the width. So I'm going to make that equal to the width minus 20. Oh, in fact, no, sorry, minus 30. And then the same with the other one. So width minus 30. Oh, because that's the name for that parameter. So it's like in programming, you give a variable name. Yeah. Yep. So this width here, that name's very important. It's going to have the same spelling, and then it knows. Yeah. It is programming in a way. Yeah. So hit apply. Now it's following it, and if I go and change this, let's make it 1,000, so it's easy to see, and it's following it exactly. So I'm going to go back to about 400, that's what I want. So notice I've made it 30 less, which means my band running around there is going to be half of that. Yep. Okay, so now I need to model in my shape to take away, and I'll also give the height. So I'm going to just select this and type in a height. So I'll make it fairly flat, so I'm going to make it 30. And you can put a height in as a parameter if you want to. You can click on that grey button and add a parameter for the height, but I don't think it's very important to have an adjustable height here, so I'm going to leave it set to 30. And now back into my plan view, and I'll go to actually I'll do it the right way. I'm going to go and make a new extrusion. Sorry, not new extrusion, so I'll cancel that. Could do it that way, but I'm going too quickly. I'm going to go and make a void extrusion and draw a rectangle just roughly inside the previous one. I'm going to set the extrusion end to 15, and then to make it follow this edge, I'm going to draw in dimensions. So from that outer edge, I could lock it to the light emitting source, but that's a bit messy, so it's probably better to lock it to the outside by drawing in a dimension that's like a handle, and then setting that dimension to 15, by selecting the line, and now I can select the dimension and lock it. So that this edge is always going to be 15mm from the outside if it moves in and out. Okay, so I can just do that on each side. Alrighty, so oops, there we go. Now I think I've drawn an extra dimension in there. I'll just delete that and draw it again. Okay, so now I've just got to set all those to 15, and probably would have been clever to make a parameter for that, and then it would have been less work than going and locking each one actually, but still doesn't take long to go and lock each dimension. Done. So now in my 3D view, the orbit, you can see it's cut a hole out or a recess from the base, and then to make the filament really, or it's going to be a diffuser that is visible, I'll make another extrusion just by drawing a rectangle, and this time I can save time by just going to wireframe, and then when I draw the rectangle, the lock symbol will come up, so I can just trace over those and then lock straight away to the edges of my void, so I don't need to draw the dimensions in again. It's already been done. And so I'm going to set the extrusion start there to 10 and leave the extrusion end on 15. So it starts 10mm above the base, and we'll see that in the section now. So it's just a thin plate sitting inside that void. So I'm going to go into the properties for that extrusion now, where it's by category, browse and set the material so we don't have a light bulb material, so I'm going to just click on the library button and go to glass folder in AEC materials, where I know there is a luminous material. Here it is, glass white high luminance. Bring that up, and we've got it in the project now. It's a good idea to rename that, and so we'll call that glass light diffuser, something like that. And I'll use vendor appearance for the graphics, and leave the rest of it, and then go to appearance, and just show you where the self-illumination is set. So you can see there, that's how it gets its brightness. And this will give some light in the scene. Not a lot, but it does technically do some lighting, and you'll see that if you turn the light off completely, you'll still get some light from the material. And it's interesting, that's the way some rendering engines do all of their lighting. And it was thought at one time that would be the way of the future. Rendering engines like Maxwell, that are extremely realistic, work that way. The problem is they're very slow. So I've had a license of Maxwell for years, and I've only been able to make it work with pretty small scenes. And I've got pretty good computers, and it's still very difficult with large projects to get anything. It's a shame, because it's a beautiful engine, renders really nice images, but again, just a little bit too intensive on the processing. So again, with that self-illumination option, we can reduce the brightness, but this is okay for now. Lampshade interior, that preset's pretty good. And the colour temperature, 6500, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to just leave that, click OK. But I want to make it maybe so I can adjust it when I go to the project, so I'm going to click on the Associate Family Parameter button, Add Parameter, and we'll call that Light Diffuser Material. So that bit's done, and now I just want the outside to be black plastic or something, so I'm going to select that, browse, and I don't have any plastic materials there, so I'll just find something here that's close. rename it. So just tick use render appearance, go there, and I'm happy with that actually. So, now maybe you could make it glossy or polished even, but otherwise I'm happy with that. Not always, no. So, okay, I'll just go to that. So, okay, so at the moment that is going to render black, and obviously the graphics is set to do the same thing with the colour. But in your shaded views, actually this is a good example, black maybe is too dark because it's going to blend in with your line work. So it might be better to have this showing as a dark grey instead, so we can still see the black outline around it. So you've got that ability to have a different colour for your graphics to the way it renders, which can be really useful. Yeah, it's the colour for shaded. So here now, if I go to my shaded view, which is what we're seeing there, it's grey. But if I go to realistic, it's black. No. That's right, just shaded, consistent colours, they both use the same colour. Yeah, often it's fine just to pick it, it's fine, quite often. So, oh yeah, now I didn't give a parameter for that, so I'm just going to give that one and call it light fixture material. Now I want this to be suspended from the ceiling above, so I can go back now to the elevation view, make a new extrusion, and I'm just going to do a pole. So I'm just going to do a circle there, centered, and give it a height. So I'll make that maybe 1,000. It's probably too much actually, maybe 700. Tick to finish, look in front view, and then I can see it's sitting too low, so I'm just going to stretch the base up there and lock it to the top of my fixture. And now to make this adjustable, good technique is to put in a reference plane at the point you want to have as the ceiling, and then set that to be a strong reference. And now, I'll have to just check to see if this works. I'm going to lock that to the reference plane just by stretching the top of it until it snaps to it. And I'll load it in. There might be another thing I need to do, but it may work just like that. Otherwise I'll need to put a parameter in for the height. So I'm just going to save as, and I'll save this so you can get to it if you want to try this one. But it's a really good idea to try to make your own, because you sure have different designs to me. So I'm going to go to light fixtures there and just save this as a square unhosted downlight. And so the last thing before I load it in, just want to have a look at the actual light properties, and also make sure I don't have anything like that circle there that is just left over from the old studio light. Okay, so now to go to the light properties, back into family types, you'll see that you always, in a light family, will have parameters set up for the lighting. So the intensity, it's called initial intensity, but just think of it as intensity or brightness. When you click there, will usually be set to watts initially. Again, that's just the legacy of the past. These days you tend to work with lumens, so if you're working with metric measurements anyway, so if you get a luminous flux you can set lumens, which is just a single unit instead of having a power consumption and then an efficiency, which is what you have with the wattage. So if you have a light bulb that is 100 watts, if it's incandescent, that's fairly bright, but a 36 watt compact fluorescent is probably going to be brighter. It's lower wattage, but it's more efficient. So the newer light sources, like the compact fluoros and LEDs, tend to be much more power efficient than older ones like incandescents. But again, you need to know the efficiency to work with that. Otherwise, if you go to luminous flux, lumens, a single measurement for brightness, and they're sometimes called a metric candle. So the older unit is candelas, which you can see below here, and if you want to, you can work with candelas. And a candela basically is the brightness of a candle. So this light would be roughly 2,263 candles. Yeah. It's like horsepower. Yeah. Yeah, well, think about in old churches and things when they had, they were probably some of the only buildings that had a lot of lighting at night until electricity. Well, they had gas lights actually before that, but even so, and they had other chemical lights actually, lime lights and things. So that's right, exactly. Yeah, well, it was a massive. Yeah, that's right when they had oil lamps. Yeah, that's right, exactly. Yeah, spot on. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, oil was mostly from Wales until they started mining it from the ground. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, no, if you've seen that new, basically Moby Dick, it's what's called Heart of the Sea, I think. Yeah. Right, let it burn. Right, yeah. But also, I mean, it would have been one of the only sources of abundant flammable oil. Yeah, because I mean, we think petrol is just a normal thing, but it's yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, lumens are they're roughly about 3 candelas to a lumen, and so I'm sorry, 3 lumens to a candela. Sorry. So you can see there that's about 3 times this. And lumens, like I said, they're just a metric unit instead of candelas. I'm going to leave that brightness over, so sort of make sure you know where to set the brightness. And that's not bad. 7,000 is actually it's very bright actually, or very, very bright for a light source this size. And then we've also got the colour, or the temperature. Oh, 3,000. Yeah. You can even go down to, I mean, for single spot downlights, 1,200 to 1,200 lumens. Yeah, that's right. Yep. And then, so the colour there, it's just on the edge of neutral, but it's a bit too warm for what I want, so I'm going to go up to D50. And that's it. So save, you can easily come back and change it, but load into the project and I can see then if what I've done so far is working. So I'm going to go into the level 1 ceiling plan, and I'll begin just by trying to place one using the component tool. It should come up there and I can place that. Now it's big, yeah, that's right. So I'm glad I made it adjustable. Yeah, no, that's bigger than I wanted, so that's fine. So I'm going to select all of these studio lights. Right click, select all instances in entire project. Go to here, and then change it. Yeah, so that'll work, but remember the yeah, and so and here I had a feeling this would happen. So notice there that I'm not getting an option to adjust the height here. So I'm going to go back and just change that family a little bit more. So back to edit family, and okay. So what we need to put in here is a parameter. So I need to draw a dimension from this default height up to here, place it to one side, and I'm going to go into label, add parameter, and change this to an instance parameter, which seems to bring up that option for stretching. So we'll call this height to ceiling. And I don't think I put a material onto that either, so I'll do that while I'm at it. So I can just choose the same material and then add the same, or assign it to the same parameter. So there we are. So now notice, got this. Yeah. So they are too big though. I don't want them to be quite that big. I want them to be fairly large, but not that big. And this is the great thing about families in Revit. You can just select one of them now, and even in perspective view, go to edit type. I haven't even set up types here. We've got a couple, but I'm just going to use the one that's selected, 120 volt, and voltages mean nothing for us. That's for electricians. Voltages don't affect the brightness at all. It's just the power system that you're on, whether you're in, Japan or Australia or, Europe or whatever. So, so I know in Japan, what is it, 100 and... Yeah, we're 270 volt, and then 240 volt, sorry, and they're on 100 and something. They're one of the few countries that you really need to know because they make a lot of electrical stuff, obviously. Yeah, and they only make stuff for their system because they make so much of it. Whereas other places make it, like say, if you buy electrical equipment in Australia, it's for... But Australian stuff usually will work because it's for... Oh, right. Oh, yeah, you just got to look. So if it's got the range, a lot of stuff you buy here, you'll see it'll have a range from 100 and something up to over 240 because it's made to work with all these different voltages. But if you buy in Japan, you can't just take it to Australia because it's made just for that voltage. And so that's a problem, yeah. But now I've taken a lot of stuff from here to Japan, and you just get the, the adapter, and then it works. But bringing stuff, bought stuff from Japan to Australia, and you've got to buy a big transformer and a pain. Yeah, that's right. Because there's a lot of stuff you can get over there, but the transformers, bloody pain. Yeah. But so anyhow, Europe's not as bad, but they have similar issues, and I think America's similar as well. But anyhow, so volts, in case you're wondering, it's just a property that shouldn't affect very much. But then the size, you can see here, 760, so that is big. I forgot I left it on that size, so I'm going to change that to 400, apply, and they all change. So that's really the whole purpose of making families and setting up all of those things, so you can easily change groups of objects, which is the basis of a lot of the design work you do. You're setting up a certain set of properties and then repeating that pattern and then varying those properties to get different design results. So now I can maybe go into here and change the views, but unfortunately so I changed the planning, but unfortunately the height to the ceiling is an instance property, and we need it to be like that so that I can stretch each one. But I'll show you a quick way of doing that to all of them. So firstly, I'm going to get the height from the ground right. Now you can try stretching it, but that's a little bit hit and miss. So what I'll do instead is do it with the type properties. So go to edit type, and you can see there that the default height is a property there. 2400 is not too bad actually, but maybe I just want that to be above the window head. Doesn't really have to be, but I'll just do that just so you can see how it's done. So that's done it. But notice only that light has the what is it? The pole suspending it, the cable, whatever it is, going up to the floor. But I'm going to stretch it so that it snaps to it in any case, and then I'm going to have a look in properties and see what that number is, 740. Now I can use that trick I showed you just a minute ago to select all of them, select one of them, right click, select all instances, in entire project, and then go and type in that number. And yeah, so it's covered by the thing there, but it is going up to the top. Okay, so that might make your life a bit easier when you have instance properties. There we are. And so now I can go and, well, I'll save the file. And again, to test the rendering, interior artificial only, and I might set it back to draft. Still got to fix up a few details here, but it's definitely enough to test it out. So, yep, it's a little bit officey, but I don't mind it for the sort of ancillary spaces, that light source. But now I want to have one that's a little bit different for the reception. So I sort of roughed out this reception area, and now I want to have some directional lights in that space. So we're going to use this light as a starting point and modify it to put those in. So I'm just going to go to Edit Family, and then into the front view. Now I know that the ceiling space is what is it, 3 and a bit meters. So I'm going to take this default height there. Yep. Oh, you do it a different way. So I am going to do essentially that, but I'm going to do it. Oh no, I'll do it. I'm going to do it next actually. So once I bring this down. Because I want to save this, but before I save it I need to give it a new name, and that's essentially the equivalent of duplicating when you're working with something like a wall. So on the main menu there, save as family, and I'm going to give it a new name, so I'm going to call this unhosted spot. Oops. And yeah, I think I'll make it round. Okay, so we're going to select the, so I'll bring this down while I'm at it. So the height to ceiling will be about 300. And then the light emission, I'll go to light source definition after I select that object and change it to a circle and downlight. Click OK, and notice that it automatically gives you an angle. And that's because if you go into family types, that you have a tilt angle set up for you as a property. So notice I've lost the length and width properties that came up with it as a rectangle, but it's added in these extra ones. So I'm just going to set that to 90 for now. Okay, and it's pointing down. The angle for... Oh yeah, so they're always in properties. So yeah, you can't really rotate this or anything. So you've got to go into here, and so you've got the inner cone, which is this spot beam angle, and then the outer cone is the field angle, spot field angle. So maybe I'll just change the angle there again to 45, and so you can see there it's obviously changing that. In the light source. So I'll go back to 90, and so you can use that angle as a property for a plane that you set up to follow that. So it's a bit tricky, but just want to give you an idea, if you're interested in doing that, how to go about it. So back to ground floor, I've got the view range a bit low at the moment, so I'm going to set that a bit higher, or in fact you can go to ceiling plan. With this one it should be pretty straightforward. Okay, so the inner void, you can just go to Edit Extrusion, and yeah, I'll just delete all of that. And then, sorry, I'm not thinking correctly here, so I'm not going to cancel that. So I'm going to start with the outside, so I was tempted to do it backwards, but I'll start with the outside, Edit Extrusion, and then delete that shape, and I'll just draw a circle centered on the center point, and then just click to set the radius. So I can select that now and then put in a size that's maybe a bit better, so let's say 80. And then the end I'll bring up a bit higher as well, so I'll make that 100. Click to finish, and it's going to give me a warning. That's okay, delete dimensions. So that one's done. That's the outside housing. And then we've got the void next. So the void is still there. It's just going to be a bit hard to find in this view, so I might go to this outside view here, and I can see it there. So that's my void. Oh no, that's my, sorry, that's not my void. Where's my void gone? You know, I should have probably done it the other way, but oh no, so there's, is that the void? Yeah, no, it can just be a bit hard to find them because when they're not cutting in the same way, they can be a bit tricky, which is why I was going to do it the other way, but what it's doing there is it's still cutting the bottom off. Because remember, it's a rectangle, so it's cutting the bottom off my cylinder. So to select it, I've got to go to the edge of the cylinder on the base, and that's going to select the void. And now Edit Extrusion, and I can do the rest in plan. So again, I'm going to delete the lines there. Probably would have been just as easy to make all of this again from scratch, but still, it doesn't hurt to do it like this. Okay, so then I can set a size, or what I might just do is leave this as a fixed size and not worry about parameters yet too much for this one, because it might make it a bit complicated. And then the diffuser, again, Edit Extrusion, and delete that, and then just draw a circle. So it saves me reassigning all the materials and setting the heights again if I do it like this. And there it is. So you've got there the outer housing, the void, and then the diffuser. Just make a revolve. So yeah, sure. So if you want a sphere, it would just be a.
Are you making it in section?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you do go to revolve here, and then just draw a, we'll draw a line actually to begin with, and then an arc, and make a semicircle. Because it's going to revolve it around, and if you revolve a circle around, it'll go over the top of itself. So it needs to be a semicircle, and then and then draw an axis line in line with that inner edge. Click to finish, and so in 3D, it's given us a warning telling us that the light source is inside this.
Yeah, so you need to actually avoid the light source.
That just set of transparent materials. Yeah. You can easily just go into a studio light and put a sphere around it. It's really easy. and yeah, just make sure that your light material glows but is also fully transparent, or fairly transparent. It doesn't need to be fully transparent, but has some transparency. So I'll delete that one, so I'm just going to leave that as it is. And so that, the only thing is that won't tilt. I can make the light direction tilt, but that fixture won't tilt. Now you can make it tilt. Yeah, you just have to set a parameter for it. And you would also probably need to make this a nested family. Yeah, so you'd need to put this into another file and then bring it back into this one. Pretty much, yeah, that's right. So I think I'll show you. It's not that difficult. So I'll just show you. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do is something that people forget you can do, copy and paste. So I'm going to go copy to clipboard. Now, before I do that, I'll make this, I'll just save the file. So now I'm going to make a new family and use, oh now, so I've gone too far. I've selected the this piece as well. I don't want that. I want this to be straight. So I'm going to leave that and just, so I just select that again. So I'm going to select just the bottom part that I want to be tilting. So copy to clipboard. And now I'll make a new family. Metric generic model. There are all sorts of options you can try here, like the line-based one could be good, but I'm just going to choose plain metric generic model. So it's very important here that you don't use a light family, because a light family is going to contain light source information. We don't need that. I'm just going to go modify, paste, and click to place this on the centre. It's gone off, that's okay, I'll just move it in the right place. Right, and then, good trick here, go to family category and parameters and make sure always vertical is turned off. That's really important. So in 3D view you can see there I've just got 3 objects, but it's not voiding anymore. So I'm just going to go to cut, choose the outer one and then the void. So that should be ready to go. So I'll just save it into the same folder, so we'll call this light spot dummy. It's not really a dummy, but I just don't want people to use it on its own. Okay, so now I'll go back, load into project, and this time tick the family file, but not the project file. Click OK, and then I can place that in somewhere. So I'm just going to put that over the centre. Check it now in a 3D view, and it's on the ground. Okay, so I'm going to go into the elevation and pick new host. And oh no, it won't do that. So let's just see if I drag it up. Yep, that'll work. And so notice I can lock it to planes. Now I want to lock it to the base plane there. I don't really care about the other one. But first I'm just going to delete these objects, and that dimension there was one that was already there. So I'm just going to place that over to one side and then delete these things. Oh, that was part of it somehow. Anyhow, that is okay. Alright, so then back into the new family. So remember, this is all one grouped object because I've loaded it in as a nested family. So I'm going to go now and put in a reference line, which is one you might not have used before. So I'm going to draw the reference line from this point here across. And then, exactly, change the angle. Now, let me think about this. This should work if I just put in an angular dimension from the... Yeah, so from there... Okay, now the reason it should work, but you'll see there can be problems. So this dimension now, I can set to the tilt angle. Yeah, and we've got a problem. So just cancel that. So what's going on there? So it's actually going to be tilt angle minus 90. So if we go into here and see if that will work. So I'll do it this way. So I'm going to go and add a parameter, and we'll call this fixture angle. And yeah, it's playing up a bit because I'm going to change this option there to not a reference, and that should stop it from doing that. So let's just see. So fixture angle. And it's doing it again. So we need to do something different. Okay, so instead of doing it with a reference lines can be really fiddly. I'm going to try with a reference plane instead. That can have its own issues, but let's just see what happens. Okay, so drawing in a dimension, and okay, so selecting this one. Let's see what happens. There we go. Now there's still something to test as well after this, so not a reference. And okay, now I'll actually try it with minus 180. So it's going to be, or plus 180. Is that going to work? Oh no, from there, so it'll be the same. So we'll set it to equal to tilt angle. And that should be okay actually. No. So let's just see if this... Oh, it just doesn't like that option, but here, yep, not working. Okay, so let's get another idea. Reference line. So from here to here, and then set it to tilt angle. No, that's not right. That just if we just try changing that now to 90, it's okay. 0. Yep, that's okay. So this is where usually you get a problem. Changing it now to 30, yeah, it's measuring from the wrong place. So I've got to get it to lock onto that intersection. So this reference plane here, come up. And getting tilts is one of the most fiddly things with any family, unfortunately, but it will work in the end. Yep. So 0, and then again 30. Yep, it's doing it again. Here we go. So you can try locking as you do it, and that seems to help. So no. just try one more option and then I'll give up, but can definitely get it to work. I've done it before quite a few times. Sorry, what was that there? I just missed something. Sorry, reference line. Yeah, it should cope with this. I don't know why it's... sorry, you've got to turn the chain option off, so that's the really important step. So turning chain off there. So now, notice we've got these locking options. So I'm going to lock and lock. Then, try again. So that's okay. Going from there, so to anything except 0, it's okay. And we go 90. Then try going back to 30. Yep, let's try the one that's always a problem, 0. And then back to 60. Yep, that's a problem. So we can't go to 0. I wish they would fix that. I just think the developers don't know about some of these little problems that people have. But we can go to 90. Now, by rights, that should mean we can use the same angle as the tilt angle, because we're measuring it from here. So let's see if this will work. Get to tilt angle now, and it's so no, we'll see, that would take it down, and well, you could make it plus 90. Yeah, we could try that. So if we set the, so if we can make a new parameter. Yeah, here we go, fixture angle. Yeah, and it's going to try and pick it up again. So let's try making fixture angle equal tilt angle plus 180. That could be a good idea. And then see then if it will do it. It's so bizarre. Yeah. So the only way I can think of doing it is to remove that formula and then set this to, still doing it, I just don't know why. Try adding in a new one and see if that will do it. So we'll call this fix angle. And now that's working. So somehow it's going in when it's being programmed and interfering with that other parameter, but I can just go and remove this one. So this one works, and I'll call it the right thing. There we go. Okay, so that seems to finally be working, and it'll just need to be set in addition to the tilt angle, but otherwise that's okay. And so finally now I can go and use a line, choose the reference plane, the reference line, and then the center line of my light, and then the arrows I can just use then to move it up and down. And then to flex it, I'll go into a 3D view, and so it will zoom right in so I can see it. So then we can go and try changing that fixture angle to, let's say, 45, and it doesn't like it. So let's see what's happening there. Yeah, so let's see if we change that number here. Why is it? Okay, so let's see what's happening there. So I'll unlock this. It shouldn't have a problem rotating. Let's see if we can rotate it here. Okay, so that's in the family. So we're going to go back to the family, and then sometimes you need to unconstrain the elements. They're all unconstrained though. Yeah, so that should be okay. Don't know why it's not. Okay, so we'll put it into yet another family. What I should have done is just show you how to modify the spot because there's a spotlight that's set up already to do this.
So is this how you duplicate something? You create it, you do it all, and then you copy it, you go to the account?
Yeah. So well, you don't have to. You can always just make it in the new file, but just putting it into this one because this should let me change things a bit more easily. Alright, so when we adjust this line, well, that's meant to set the length of it. Let's also here, we definitely can rotate this in this file. That's probably why it won't let me in the other one. Okay, so definitely turned off always vertical. Let's try work plane based. So I really don't want to use that line based one unless I have to, but if we have to we will. So that's kind of rotating. Maybe it's because it's been copied and pasted. But let's just try again. Okay, so here we'll see no, that's just odd, and we can try to rotate it. It won't let us. Okay, so I have to play around with that. I don't know what's happening there. It should definitely let that one rotate. And maybe the hosting. I don't want to spend too long on that, but you can see how setting parameters can be problematic. Oh, now what I should have done. Sorry, I've been stupid. Okay, so I know how to do. Alright. So, in this file, this is what I should have done. I can set a draw a reference plane, do what I was doing before in the other file, and then a line. In fact, we'll do it at 90 degrees, so it's oh no, so I'll try to do the base. So we're going to go a line, choose the base, and then this one, it doesn't want to rotate now. Why not? It wants to do it. Okay, so this is what happens when you copy and paste, which I probably shouldn't have done, but anyhow, so I'll try using, with all of these, a line. Just doesn't want to do it, so I'll rotate it. Or actually, sorry, draw on that plane. So yeah. Okay, so we can go to Extrusion, Set, pick a plane, and pick that reference plane, reference line. Okay, so now I can draw a new circle. And give it a size. And the height, 100. Finish it. It's got maybe got to be minus 100. Fortunately, I'm going to have at least the materials from what I've copied and pasted. So I can delete that outer housing now, and I'll even delete the other two things because I'll make them again. Okay, so now just to test that that's working, if I move this reference line, it goes with it. So that's the key to it. And so then back into my 3D view, if I go to make a new extrusion now, I'll do a void extrusion, and we'll make sure the same plane is still set, so you can see that should be the same plane. There we go, so this is hopefully going to work. So then I'll type SC to snap to center, and make the extrusion minus 30, tick to finish, and now it's going the other way. That's so weird, but okay, 30. So now it's cutting a hole out. A bit hard to see in realistic, but in shaded, you can see that. And then back to extrusion, and again SC, snap to center. Sorry, with the circle. SC over the edge. Could have just picked that line anyway. And then minus. Oh, sorry, it's going to be 15. Starting at 15 and going to 30. And this one's going the other way. It's so weird. It's the problem. It's very hard to find people. I've done programming in .NET, so that's C# and Visual Basic. And finding people who can do that and who have an idea about CAD software is very difficult. So I think they just miss little things all the time when they're doing this programming, which is a problem. Anyhow, you can get it to work in the end. So here, okay, so I'm going to put in a parameter now. Right, so this hopefully won't break it, but let's see what happens. So from there, now that's our reference level. That's okay, we'll use that. I think it should be okay. So what I want to make sure of here is that 0 degree thing doesn't cause a problem. So I'm going to call this Fixture Angle again. So that's fine. And I know most of the angles will work, but let's see the 0 degree thing. Yeah, I had a feeling. Okay, so I'm going to have to try and get that plane locked somehow. So otherwise we'll have to do the plus 90, so drawing another reference plane or reference line perpendicular to that. Somehow seems to make it do a better job, and not a reference. Okay, so drawing an angle from there, sorry, from here to here. Yeah, okay, so this is, I don't know, I'm sure it's a messy way of doing it, but let's just say, so fix 90. Okay, and then we make fixture angle equal to fix angle minus 90. Right, so fix 90 minus 90. Now, if I go to adjust this one, make that 90, that seems to be okay, and then make this 135. Yeah, maybe when I drew it, but I think when you're drawing it that it does. this, and it's fixing the end of them that's always a pain, and I wish they would just put in a control for this. I think in the new version they do have one, and in fact I always forget you've got dummy objects now, which oh no, so I'm thinking of different things. So yeah, so with this family, let's just get this now with not giving me any lock symbols. I don't know, so let's see. Okay, so bring this around. It seems to be all fine until you put a parameter on, and then it's just got a problem for some reason. Now, what if I lock this? Oh no, that's the dimension, that's not right. Yeah, there's no locking there. Well, we can try even just putting in a dimension to here. At 90, and seeing if that will help it. Probably won't, but let's just say so 0, and then 56. Yep, I always have it for some reason. So we'll get rid of fixture angle. See if this one will do it. So changing. Oh. No. Yep. So, well, let's just have a quick look at the family that I know works, and I'll see if I can at least get this to do something for you. But so it's M downlight spot is the one that does work. Where is it? So if we go to lighting, here we go. Okay, so let's see what they've done there. So, yeah, so it's just an extrusion, and see, it's just using the tilt angle. So I think it's getting it to be a circle that's problematic, because this is going from the side, so that seems to work. Yeah, maybe those dimensions there are helping it. So yeah, let's try that. Okay, so as well as having the dimension, yeah, okay, so that might do it. So let's go back just to have this one, and then drawing the dimensions from here to each of these planes, which, like you're saying, might be the key to it. And okay, so let's see. Yes. There we go. Brilliant. Genius. Okay, so that's working. Well, no, that's only half an hour, maybe, but yeah. Okay, so then this is the part that I finally wanted to show you, because now we've done all of that, we can make it work. So into this one, downlight spot. Is that the right one? That's not it. So I must have closed it. That's okay, I'm just going to open it. Okay, so I saved it into lighting fixtures. And so it was let's just go by date. Not date created, date modified. Round unhosted spotlight. Oh, it is open. Yeah, okay, so alright, now. Okay, so this, okay, so we'll switch back to the other file. Ah, here we go. That's so strange. So there is the light spot dummy. Right, so load into project. Oh, round unhosted spot, it was there, I was just blind. Okay, override existing version. And it's at whatever angle. This isn't needed anymore, nor is the reference line. Okay, so it's all going to be all good now. Right, so that's roughly in position. So here's the interesting part. If I go now into family types, then you can see there are none of those parameters. Right? They're in the family. So this one here, if I go to edit type, there they are. So here's light fixture angle. Okay, so that is measured from here. So it's is it plus minus 90, I think it is. So I'm going to click on this one, and I'll add in a new parameter to this file. Well, or I can use fixture angle, which is the fixture angle parameter I've made in this file. So I'm plugging the parameters into the ones from this family into this one that I've loaded it into. So the materials are a good example. So I've got light diffuser material from this family, and so that's the same as what this pole uses, I'll go, oh, so not light diffuser, light fixture material. I'm going to click on that, and then light fixture material. So they're linked. Then light diffuser material doesn't have any objects using it in this file, but I'm still going to plug that in, because otherwise I won't be able to change it when I load this family into the project. Okay, so, and that's really the key with nested families. You've got to link the parameters together. Okay, so that's changed to the angle. I'm really glad I worked that out. Actually, that's a really good thing you noticed with those angles, so that's good. And so going into here now, this light fixture angle should be equal to tilt angle minus 90, I'm pretty sure. Could be wrong, but I think that's right. Tilt angle minus 90. Bingo. Now I can even move this a little bit to fine tune the position. I'm just going to do it by eye, I'm not too fussed if it's a few millimetres out. And then going into my left view, make sure that it is also roughly centred. So let's go look at it in 3D and make sure it's all working now. So back to family types, and all we need to do is change the tilt angle. Let's try 45. Bingo. Genius. So 23. Bingo. And now that pole's not long enough, so we'll just cheat and make it stretch down so it's inside it no matter what. So for animation, you would need to maybe take it a bit further and put a housing around it. So, well, in fact, I know we're almost over time, but it's such a simple thing that I would just go ahead right away and do that, because, you know, doing all that work to set it up, then this is only going to take, you know, 30 seconds, and we just need a plane for it. So we're in the left view, so that is unfortunately it doesn't want to show what the names of the planes are. Having said that, it's no, it is just a quick thing. So it's light source, and so going to the left view, I should just be able to use that plane. So here, yep, light source axis. No, it's not. Okay, so we're going to, that's right, draw a plane, simple. There we go. Okay, so left, right is what I'm going to call this plane. Just to prove to you, it will be 30 seconds, but just after getting that plane in. Okay, so now back to extrusion, and I can choose left, right, and simply draw a housing. So a bracket essentially. So it's like a hinge, for the hinge, to rotate within, so it doesn't look strange. Okay, so not being too precious about the size or anything, and in the top view, not even going to worry about the exact depth. I'm just going to do this by eye. No one is ever going to measure this. Okay, so bring this up. We'll make it a bit skinnier. Make this a bit fatter. Okay, so now when the light rotates, it's got something. I mean, it could be a little bit better, but that's good enough, I think. So, so as the light changes angle, let's see. That should look pretty good. Beautiful. Okay, so all good and working, and you've got that light there if you want to use it. So but that's good to try something like that. Yeah. Yeah, no. But look, the instance where you'll often want to use something like that, and where I really did play around a lot to get another family that I made working, was where I had adjustable louvers. I don't want to get the louvers to all change angle, so I had, you know, a series of like 20 louvers in a window frame, and getting them all to change with just the one angle setting was really important, because I had a massive screen of louver, a louver wall basically, and I wanted to get the lighting to come through that and control it with the angle of the louvers, and then set up an animation that had that.
So you were actually doing that because you were going to
Yeah. Well,
if you were rendering that out,
oh no, I'd still do it. And I've got families. I've made a family just like that, and then I've put into the same Revit library folder for you, that has an adjustable set of louvers, because yeah, you don't want to have to go and rotate every louver to get the lighting to come through, but if you can just change that angle, click apply, and see the shadows straight away in Revit, yeah, makes a huge difference. Yeah. So, so now, after all of that work, we can have fun and play with the light in plan. I'll do the recess lighting next week. Okay, so with that light now, I can just put a few near the reception, which is really the whole point of this, so I can have lights focusing on that that area, that the entry, the people visiting are meant to be noticing as they walk in, like in most hotel lobbies. And so there we are, and they're at an angle there, and we can control that angle precisely, going to edit type and then finding tilt angle. So let's try 45, click apply, and they all go with it. You could change each one, but instance properties are a bit risky with something like that, because they're more embedded in the model and they'll interfere with other things. So normally they're okay, but just for things like that, with tilt I've had problems with that. There's door swings as well, that's another one where you've got to get the rotation, because I've had to do 3D doors where you can open and close the door, and you have that same problem with the reference lines. But I'm glad you noticed that thing with the angles, because now I know what it is. You just draw in the angles and that seems to fix it, so that's brilliant. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and square unhosted spotlight. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, that just downlight recessed can glow. Yeah. 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 Shall I see? Okay, so there we are. So they're, I'll probably play with that lobby, make it a bit nicer, but at least so you can see the lights.